So Deepika, we're both Sindhi, and I had a question. You know, being Sindhi, what do you think we've done well as a community? And how do you think we can continue to heal as a community? And this from, of course, a systemic family constellations perspective.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, it's very interesting because when I actually started this work, one of the curiosity was my own community, and we shared that. And because in my own life, it has felt like a very big missing piece in terms of what I've inherited from it and what also has been complexity from having an identity, any identity really, because we're talking about Sindhi because that's the question. And I've worked with a lot of people from the community as well. And which is also very relevant to what a migrant would experience, but it's different because every migrant community has their own journey and they have their own context, and they also land in different countries and they land in different places differently. So one of the things about Sindhi that I observe is that there is a very beautiful ability to carry ancestral strength, which means that it doesn't land for all families equally, again, because of life event. Right? But just collectively speaking, somehow there is an ability to have an inner sense that we can rebuild and we can carry our rituals, our tradition, our food, our clothes, our places of worship, and kind of rebuild that. And it feels to have an energy to be able to recreate. I'm not a history expert, but from my knowing is that there has been quite several times that we have had to do that as a community for generations, right? And then we have had to do it again once for many of us after the India-Pakistan partition. So we had to leave and we had to recreate once again. And there's such a good ability to actually bring forward ancestral gifts, ancestral rituals, energy to recreate, in spite of the loss of land, which is also huge because land is very much equal to like a maternal energy. We have a connection. It feeds us, it nourishes us, it nurtures us. But when there is a breakage, so there is always pain that comes along with that. And then for a lot of families, there's still an ability to still bring forward energy of that through rituals and through traditions, etc. So in that sense, that gives us a life force to continue, right? But just like any migrant community that has experienced losses, there will always be the life event that is of tragedy, right? We lost something. Some family members can't really carry forward the rituals very well or the ancestral strength very well because of mental health issue. Maybe they couldn't make it. Maybe there was a tragedy in the family. There was an accident. There was a death that, of course, is not planned. It just kind of happens. So it interrupts. It interrupts our ability to be able to carry forward what we want, to have confidence and creativity to rebuild. So I see systemic family constellations as so relevant because there's a lot of life events that in the process of surviving, we have had to quickly move past it, right? We say, okay, we don't have time for this because we really need to look at that, to give healing energy into it. And one thing that I would like to add is also artistic energy into it, because arts is a healing tool. And from my little bit of reading on the community, a lot of people have had to give up pursuit of art, singing, poetry, dance, in order to survive, to do other things that makes us a lot more money a lot faster than the arts, right? Which is a story of many, many migrant community. And I feel, the more I immerse into this work, I feel that loss. Being a dancer myself, I feel that loss, and not just to dance, to perform, because that can be done more, but it's more about dance and music and poetry as a healing tool, which is so needed every time a community has experienced a loss. We need the healing energy. We also need the arts because that is a complementary healing tool. But because we have had to put that aside in order to survive and choose work, profession, business that generates us quicker income to continue to live, we have almost given up our healing tools, not so consciously, right? And we have been spread out globally, so we've had to adapt to different global cultures also. So these two pieces of the difficulty of not honoring losses because of survival, then that calcifies, that hardens us, obviously, like it does anybody. And then it can make us lose fluidity, lose harmony, lose connection, right? So how Constellations is relevant is to be able to witness the life events, the historical events, the places where disharmony has occurred, and places where we have had to abandon our art to heal, and have a reclamation around that. And that will, and if as a community, that will hopefully alleviate a lot of the shame. Yeah, because a lot of what we have not been able to look at has calcified. So if we really want to continue forward as a healthy individual, as part of a community, these are some of the things that becomes relevant, to be able to look at all the losses with compassion, with grace, with community support, honor them, bring healing into them, and then hopefully that brings us to a journey of reclaiming in a new way, right? Reclaiming in a new way, and then we can organize in a new way, organize in a more wholesome way as an individual, and an individual as part of that bigger community. So that would be my response as to how I see this as so relevant to the Sindhi story specifically, and being Sindhi myself and doing this work myself.
So as a Sindhi, actually a question to this is, what do you see as a hope for the community in the future? Or where do you see this evolving and going?
Yeah, if people are healing, there is always an ability to reclaim. Yeah, but it takes courage to begin to build inner trust to actually reclaim it. Yeah, and I see shame, which is another topic on its own, as a very key factor to reconcile with the losses. Because when we have losses, we have shame, because we're like, how come we couldn't rescue that? Something, we didn't do something well, but we need to be able to have courage to actually reclaim that, which I'll talk about in another video. But that feels to be a very key piece for us to move forward.